Okay, so today I'm going to be showing a video on how to change a tire on the side of the road, or at your own house if you have a flat, or you decide you want to change your wheels. First off, you're going to need a jack, which lots of different shapes and models. Most of the ones that come in the cars will look like a swish down diamond, and it'll come with its own little four-way, kind of like this one, except it'll look more like a J with a hook on one end. And you'll actually put that piece in when you shove it under the car and spin it around, and it'll jack up the car. And first off, you want to make sure your car's in park, and if you're on the side of the road, make sure you're off in the median, or you pull into an alley, or a parking lot or something away from other cars. Or if you're on the freeway or somewhere where you can't really be that far away from traffic, definitely make sure you're watching around you, being vigilant, making sure that people are paying attention, and setting your hazard lights on, and definitely making sure you have your e-brake set or the car's parked, or turning the car off if it's a 5-speed, and putting it back into gear and still pulling your e-brake, and always making sure that you're watching traffic as you do this. And first off, after you jack up the car, you're going to want to make sure that the car is high enough off the ground, which typically when you lift it up off the ground, the easiest way to tell is you don't want to jack it up too high, but you also want to make sure it's high enough. So all you have to do is just kind of take your wheel, and if it spins freely, it's obviously off the ground high enough. And it'll look something about this. And then you want to take your four-way, and since I do have aftermarket wheels, I have a special key for it, which most cars that are, newer have normal lug nuts and possibly a special key for one, which in your trunk, along with your spare tire and everything else, you'll have the key for that one special nut if you actually need one. And typically, what you want to do, especially if you're not, very big or mostly a female, when you get it on there, you're going to want to kind of swing it forward a little bit to get some forward momentum, and then yank back on it like that, which will break them loose, because typically most shops will have what they call an impact gun, which actually spins the nut on at certain PSIs, usually around like 180 PSI, which is quite a bit to work with, especially if, once again, you're not a bigger person. And once again, if you're doing this on the side of a road and you don't have AAA or somebody to help you, especially if you're alone, or even if it's dark, or getting to dusk and people have their headlights on, still making sure that your hazards are on. And you just want to simply twist off your lug nuts, and definitely making sure that you keep those close by, or even possibly putting them in a pocket to make sure that they don't roll away, because you will find yourself in an even worse position if they are lost, or you can't remember where you hit them, or you kick them out into the road, kind of at the mercy of your own luck at that point. And the other things that you want to watch out for are, if you have been driving this vehicle and you happen to run over a nail, or, God forbid, your sidewall blows out, or anything of that nature, that the car will be hot, and especially your brakes will be hot. So if you have even a set of mittens in your car or anything like that, to make sure that you are keeping close eye on what you touch and what you do not touch, and you You very much so do not want to touch the brakes whatsoever. And what you're going to want to do is grab the wheel on the outsides and just kind of wiggle it off, just like that. And just kind of set it up against the car, or immediately putting it in your trunk or away from you, because if you for some reason do end up having to be on the outside of the car closer to traffic, having a wheel that is just laying there is just one more piece of debris for somebody to hit. Or if for some reason you don't notice and it rolls out into the middle of traffic, it could end up hurting you as well. And then all you simply do is grab your spare tire or the other wheel that you were changing to, and you want to just kind of set it in the wheel well, kind of like this, and kind of twisting it around, making sure that's going to line up. And one thing you want to avoid is, if you have open wheels like what I have, never putting your hands on the inside like this, because of the clearance, you might end up smashing your hands, and that's something nobody wants to deal with. And my best tip for this is to just sit on the ground and put your legs on either side of the wheel, and kind of using your calves to help you wiggle it around into place, and then it should pop right in. And then taking your 4-way, or in my case, my nifty little tool, and just kind of getting all the lug nuts put back in place so you know that they're there, and you can then go from there and put yourself wherever you feel most comfortable putting them back on. And once you get them about what most people refer to as finger tight, which is as tight as you can get it on with your hand without having to use a tool or, really putting muscle into it, which a good rule of thumb with working with any kind of tool, especially when you're working on a vehicle, changing your tires and stuff, is if you're having to sweat, you're working too hard. Okay, and then once you get it to that point, just kind of give it a good little wiggle around, making sure that you did actually get your lug nuts on tight enough, and that they're not going to pop off as soon as you let the car down. And one other thing I did forget to mention is, typically lug nuts have a very fine thread in them, so if you don't put them on correctly, they could possibly what they call cross thread, which is very bad, and you want to avoid that. So if you're having a difficult time getting those lugs back on, you might want to just twist it off and just keep trying until it feels right, feels smooth going on. But once they're finger tight and it seems to be on there, you can wet down your jack, and then you tighten it up. And for the smaller people that are doing this, a good idea is, once you get the point where you cannot turn it anymore with your hand, is kind of angling it a little bit, as if you were going to tighten it a little bit more, but actually putting your feet, or putting one foot on the actual bar and twisting it down that way, just to get it a little bit tighter. And also, if you're having trouble getting it off, you can do this vice versa. And if you feel more comfortable breaking these nuts loose before you jack the car up, it'll actually save you a little bit of headache. But that's about all you need to know to change your tire on the side of the road or at your own house. And I hope you enjoyed it and you learned something. Thank you.